Hey, good morning, Seth.
Morning, Mike.
That's a nice little touch, isn't it? The intro music.
I like it.
Hey, I really, my assistant just does a great job with some of this stuff. If I'd have thought about it, I would have had her put a Christmas song up before going live this morning. Hey, everybody, welcome. It's Thursday morning live. This is the Thursday morning show where we feature a local Chicago area entrepreneur, business owner. So this morning I'm joined by Seth Williams from Interior Drama Home Staging Company. Seth, good morning.
Morning. Thanks for having me, Mike.
Yeah, you bet. Glad that you're here. Hey, Seth, in speaking about that, if you know any local area, because you're right here in Chicago with me, if you know any local business owners that might enjoy being on this podcast on a Thursday morning, let me know. I'd love to connect with them and anybody else for that matter. But hey, the comment box is open this morning. We're going to get into a little bit of discussion and kind of go a little deep, but a little raw. And, here we are just a couple days before Christmas. Hope we want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays this year, whatever you celebrate. I hope that you make the next few days, next couple weeks, just filled with joy and hope for you for the new year. Hey, Seth, I always start out with one question. All my shows. I always want to know in one word what best describes you personally and professionally.
I would say determined. So I'm determined in my business life as well as personal life to, not only learn about trying to find the best method or ways to better myself, but kind of just determined to figure out how to better, my business and make sure that I'm always on the right track, making improvements.
Awesome. I love that word determined, right? Because I think in our lives, we have to be determined about something. I talk to people all the time and, you get people that are very determined about things and not determined, right? And you can really start to tell the difference of somebody. Yeah. I know that you have a relatively new business in Chicago, one that you have been building for the last couple of years and really starting to see some growth. And I think that comes from determination. And I've seen that about you. Hey, so let's do this. Talk a little bit about your background and then talk about your business and how you got into it.
Sure. So I come from the world of banking, and in my past life, I was an investment banker. So I was helping mostly insurance brokerages to perform mergers and acquisitions and helping them raise debt. And after working a few years in banking, I decided I want to go into business for myself. I was thinking about, different business opportunities and what I could start. But I read a book which, changed my thinking, and it was about buying an existing small business. I didn't have any ideas. I was a little nervous about scaling a business from zero. And I ended up taking over this staging business here in Chicago and found a lot of opportunity to, grow it and create some efficiencies.
Interesting. And how long ago did you buy it?
About 2.5 years ago.
Okay. So you came from a W-2 world and read a book. And I know you're an avid reader. We talk about books all the time, you and I, on our coaching calls and that. And you decided to go and live the life of an entrepreneur. Yeah. And take on all the responsibility that goes along with that as being an entrepreneur, because we know that can pretty much be a 24/7 proposition.
Yeah.
And maybe not think that. We think that the life is really great, right? But then we bounce into this. And so how's that journey been for you?
It's been exciting. I mean, I love it every day. Waking up, I don't feel like I don't ever not want to go into work. When you face, terrible obstacles or, employee issues, or maybe sales aren't at the level that you want them to be for that particular month, there's always, I guess, going back to that determination, there's always something to look for to improve the business. And, in banking, I was working 24/7. So it's almost like, no change, and it's a lot more fulfilling, that's for sure.
Yeah. So isn't this interesting? Because I'm an entrepreneur, have my own business, and I deal with investment bankers all the time, right? So it's kind of funny. Um, hey, so talk about that book you read that caused you to go buy a business.
Sure. So I guess a little bit about the banking I was doing. I was making loans to private equity companies to buy portfolio companies. And when I left, I didn't even have a plan about what I was going to do. And I remember I went to Brazil and on like a yoga retreat, and her and I were eating acai at this acai place. And she goes, "Hey, you should look into buying one of these. They're franchises." I was like, "Okay, that's an interesting concept." So read a little bit more. And it was kind of like, how to buy a small business for dummies. And it was exactly what I was doing in banking. So the steps in the book, the book was called Buy Then Build by Walker Diebel. It was step by step exactly what I had already been doing in banking. So I figured I already knew how to do all of this, just had to do it on a smaller scale for myself versus a private equity company.
Interesting. So, here's what I always tell people, and I say this a lot. I said, in my own story, in my own journey, I say, hey, I went from being, an entrepreneur or being working for somebody to be an entrepreneur and having to have to sales, all the marketing, all the hiring, all the firing, all the book, still being healed, doing some of the work. And I think that's one of the largest misconceptions of the entrepreneur or the new entrepreneur. Life becomes easier. But, we deal with people every day, right? There's breakdown in employees. There's, Seth, you and I over the last year or so have walked through some situations where, people don't show up. There's dissension, there's challenges on jobs. People forget things, have to go back. How do you deal with that in your own mind as an entrepreneur?
Well, I've started to look at it a lot differently lately. From all the calls that we've had, but previously I was thinking, scale it, top line, grow volume, but kind of at the expense of profit. And really lately, what I've been looking at is labor productivity. So I've always, or at the beginning, I was like, I just need to make this business as big as possible. I need to delegate everything. And I'm coming to realize it's really about the output that you're getting per employee and trying to create efficiencies around your staff or right size your staff for the business that you want.
Yeah. Hey, so we've been coaching for a while and really been driving, growth in your business. We've tried different strategies. We've tested things. I've held you accountable week after week to certain goals and certain fundamentals that we know will grow your business. Has coaching helped you?
Yeah, it's been tremendous. I think that having you as an accountability coach to really just hold me accountable for those weekly metrics. There's some changes I can directly tie back to. I know I wouldn't have done if you and I hadn't been working together. Excuse me.
Yeah. And the growth probably wouldn't have been as substantial as it has been.
Yeah, exactly. The sales in particular, and you and me working on scripts for cold calls. I know a lot of people hate cold calls. I'm starting to love them because they're driving growth.
Well, that's funny because when I was in the real estate business, that's what I did, right? Is I cold called and I was a sales agent. So I was on the other side of your business, where and when I was selling real estate, staging was not a thing. Now people stage. We used to just leave places empty and broom swept and but now people stage these properties and it helps produce more revenue, right? What else does staging do? So if I'm a real estate agent and you're telling me about your business, what does staging do for me as an agent? How does it help me? or help my client?
Yeah. Yeah. As an agent, I like to say that it gives you peace of mind. I know when you're on the sell side, you're answering questions all the time. You're getting calls from the seller. And if the listing is just sitting or you're not getting any offers or walkthroughs, it becomes problematic, and mostly in terms of your time. So you can't focus on generating new business because you're still dealing with this particular client or listing that isn't, getting off the market or at the price point that you guys are looking for. So, our goal is to help you sell it faster and for more money, and that creates peace of mind for the agent.
Yeah. That was something I always looked for being a listing agent, because my business was a listing business, and that's all I did. I gave all my buyer business away, but I was on the phone every day making those sales calls, scheduling appointments to go on listing appointments, taking listings. And the thing I always wanted to happen was for that listing to sell faster for more money. And I think if there was this staging process in the past, that it would have helped in a lot of cases, because a lot of my business was investor business at that time.
Right.
Well, I had investors and developers doing rehabs and new construction, and those things are dirty and empty when they're done, right? So
yeah. I mean, especially for the investor and the developer, it's really all about the numbers. So when people think staging, they think HGTV, and it's all fun and games, but really it's the bottom line. You need to look at the numbers. I like to say home staging is cheaper than your first price reduction. So it's really about creating your return on equity for the property if you're an investor or developer.
Hey, here's a little coaching. That was a great tagline. Home staging is cheaper than your first price reduction.
Yeah.
That is a great sales line.
Thanks.
With you being in one of your great pictures that you do,
Yeah.
Hey, so you brought up a really important fact, and I want to clue in on this right now, because being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, every successful business really knows their numbers.
Yeah.
And what are some of the numbers in your business that you track on a weekly and quarterly basis that that if you hit these, the numbers make your business predictable?
Yeah. I previously was looking at EBITDA, so earnings before interest,
Right.
taxes, depreciation, and amortization. And I read a book by Greg Crabtree called Simple Numbers, Big Profits this year. And it really changed my thought process on productivity and profits. So lately I've been looking at labor productivity, which is gross profit over payroll. So not including payroll taxes. And it's, a number that's hovers around 2. And so the goal is to get it as high as possible. And we haven't been hitting our numbers, at least from historically. And I'm really focused on labor productivity as well as pre-tax profit. So he defines it as backing out purchases for furniture, because you could look at those in my business like it's really an asset. It's like a return on asset. I'm renting furniture, but he's saying that you should back it out of your income statement as well to get to the profit numbers, and also back out the dividends that you pay yourself. So because a lot of entrepreneurs, they'll pay themselves a $10,000 salary and then $100,000 in dividends, which is kind of illegal, and it really doesn't show the true profitability of the business. So those are the 2 numbers that I'm most focused on now.
Yeah, and illegal is a place we don't want to go, right? Because it's very easy for people to get in trouble, and if you're skimming the truth a little bit, plus it doesn't make for ethical operations, right?
Right.
So one of the things you said was about EBITDA early on, but we have to get the earnings up, right? In order for that. So 2 ways in business, right? We can increase revenue, decrease expenses is the way to make money. But the perfect storm is when we do both.
Yeah.
So we have to be able to focus. And I think this is one of the things you've become really good at is being able to focus on getting the revenue up And we have done things over the months incrementally to get the revenue down or get the expenses down, which has
Yeah.
increased your bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
Talk
Yeah.
about talk about some of the marketing numbers. Like, what's one of the metrics that you work on every week?
For marketing, it's really about touches. So what I've done is I have my list of customers and prospects, and I've really been focused on scrubbing out all that data to make sure that the addresses are right, the email addresses are right, the phone numbers are right, and segmenting in terms of how many touches I'm going to give each of those customers or
Yeah,
prospects.
sure.
So I try to do similar to the millionaire real estate thing, 33 touch program for my best clients. It's even more than that. It's even more than 33. And then as you go down in like the pecking order of a hot prospect or a warm prospect, they get fewer touches, and it's trying to be efficient with the dollars I'm spending on all of these prospects and customers.
Yeah. So let's just let people know a little bit. And I just want to say, hey, if anybody's out there this morning, I'd love to hear from you, hear where you're at, say hi, throw a comment in the chat. For if you have a question for Seth, throw that in the chat and we'll try and get those addressed for you. But good morning to everybody who's listening in this morning. Hey, Seth. So you touched on something interesting, which is the 33 touch.
Mm-hmm.
So you and I, when we started this whole marketing journey, we talked about Gary Keller's book. And this is what I love about you. You are open to learning. You're open to growing. You're continually reading and listening to stuff that's going to expand your mind. And that's really important for somebody who's growing a business, right?
Yeah.
So we started talking about Gary Keller's book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And in that book, he's got a whole section that talks about marketing, and he talks about the 8 touch, the 12 touch, and the 33 touch. Why don't you explain those a little bit for people?
Sure. So the way in which you onboard a prospect is you get your initial contact or touch. That could be a phone call, you meet them in person somewhere, and you put them on what's called an 8x8. So over the course of 8 weeks, you contact them or quote unquote touch them 8 times. So every week for 8 weeks, you either send an email, a text, a call, a piece of mail, and once you've ran them through the 8x8, you determine where they fit in terms of your marketing list. It's either the 33 touch, they're likely to do business with you, or 12 touch, and it's you hit them 12 times a year, and they may do business with you over the next couple of years, and maybe you just send them emails because it's cheaper.
Yeah, and it keeps you in front of them, it keeps them warm,
Mm-hmm.
and it keeps you on the top of their mind, which is really important.
Yeah.
Hey, who is your who's your client, who's your avatar?
My client is a sell side or listing real estate agent between the ages of 35 to 55. So that seems to be my core demographic. Folks that are producing about $10 to $25 million in sales a year or volume.
Right. It's interesting how you know that. This goes back to numbers, right? Where does our business come from? How do we make our business predictable? And we make our business predictable because of the numbers. And so what can your typical client expect from Interior Drama?
I mean, they can expect a certain level of service that you're not going to get with a lot of other home stagers. So I like to say that we have the professionalism of a larger corporate company with the personalization of a mom and pop shop. So I bring everything that I learned in banking, which was very buttoned up. You get yelled at if you screw up an email. And so everything I do with respect to communication to clients is frequent, transparent, and they know what they're going to get, and they can reach me at all times. So I think doing what you say you're going to do is the most important thing to customers. Even if you tell them you're going to do a really bad job in 6 months, at least they know that instead of saying we're going to do an awesome job next week and then continuing to delay it.
I love that. Hey, by the way, I'm going to do a terrible job over the next 6 months of coaching you, but I just want you to be prepared for that. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. But here's what's kind of interesting, right? Is you and I in hoodies this morning are kind of a long way from that suit and tie world,
Oh,
which we've both been in, right? Because as an agent, I wore a suit and tie. As a banker, you did too. Don't get me wrong; I still love wearing a suit and tie, be going to an event, dressing up, but it's kind of nice today to be able to do business in a little bit more of a casual kind of atmosphere, but get bigger results than we got when we were in that other world.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
different life.
here's what I like to tell people. Look, this is the cash flow to wealth journey. So
Nice.
that's the new tagline, right? The pound cash flow number 2 to wealth.
I get mine on Amazon for $6. They're great.
But that's what will drive your business too, is through coaching, right? Coaching is going to help your business grow. It's going to teach you the numbers. It's going to teach you marketing fundamentals. It's going to help you grow strategically so your business is predictable. And what I really like about coaching, and it's kind of funny because this morning I got involved in a string on Twitter. Somebody was complaining about a coach, and when I always think, hey, like Seth, we talk every week about something you need to do. I don't really teach you anything you knew, right? And I don't tell you what to do, but I help you self-discover what you already know, pull it out of you, put it into an assignment, hold you accountable week to week to create that, to grow that assignment and grow your business. And that's what I've done. I've had a coach in my life for 20 years, and I believe coaching is so instrumental in people's lives today. That when you have a coach, and I've never had the same coach for longer than 3 years max was the longest I ever had one coach. But my business continually grew 20% a year after year as a result of that. So, what kind of growth do you think you'll see this year?
I am hoping for at least 25% growth.
Well, that's better than I ever got.
I think we're going to be up about 29% this year. So that's I'm happy. I'm happy for that. Next year, I'm focused more on profit. So more on growing the profitability and managing my expenses ruthlessly.
Let me talk about real estate. You just brought up a really key point that made me think about something, but I want to talk about multifamily real estate for a minute and talk about investing passively in multifamily real estate. So we're in a property down in Tampa, Florida, and what's interesting is my early projections on this property were that we would hit an NOI, the net operating income, for year end for the first year at like 240,000.
Yeah.
Okay. But because of coaching and and putting things into place that make sense, and how do we make changes and do things differently, we're going to hit about 307,000 in net operating income year one. So, when you talk about growth and blowing by goals, I'm really grateful this year that this team has been able to blow by that goal, and that it's all been because of new ideas, new concepts, moving forward and pushing the ball. So what are you doing for Christmas?
Well, allegedly, I'm flying tomorrow in the middle of the snowstorm back to Arizona. So we'll see if we get off the ground. But I'm from Tucson, so going back to Tucson to see my family.
Okay. So how do you like Chicago over Tucson?
I love Chicago. I mean, you get 4 seasons. I know a lot of people don't like the winter, or you start to get jaded by it, but I really enjoy, the winter months. And as a result, you kind of take the summer months for granted in places where the weather is always nice, like Arizona. I guess it's a little too hot there in the summer, but I look forward to the changing seasons here in Chicago and love the lake.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard somebody say a long time ago, if you can't make a living or build a business in Chicago, you're not going to be able to do it anywhere.
I think that's a good quote. I agree.
Let me ask you about Tucson, though. Doesn't Tucson have seasonal changes? Isn't it like at the foothills or up a little bit in the mountains?
It is, I think, the base of Tucson's not too high, but we do have huge mountains, right next to the city. So I want to say they're like, 6 or 7 thousand feet above sea level. So the thing about Tucson and the desert is the temperature at night is a lot colder. So I went back for Thanksgiving and woke up early to go on a jog and a shirt, a t-shirt and shorts, and it was like 33 degrees outside.
Yeah.
And by the time I got back from my jog, it was already like 15 degrees warmer. So the fluctuations are crazy. You got to have a different wardrobe.
Yeah. Yeah. So I always thought it was a little bit cooler there in Tucson. But hey, so how do people get a hold of you, Seth?
So you guys can check me out at idhomestaging.com or send me an email, which is seth@idhomestaging.com, and follow us on Twitter, interior.drama.
And you can follow him on Instagram too, where you see some great staging ideas and thoughts and things that he does. So, follow Seth, tune in. So, a couple questions I always like to end with, especially the Chicago market. What's the best book you've ever read, Seth? And I know you read 50 books a year at least.
I guess I'll just touch on the one I'm reading right now because it's really high up there. I'm loving it. It is Zig Ziglar's book, See You at the Top. It's really all about.
That's an old book.
Man, it's awesome. I was looking. I had this on my list on Amazon for a while, and I was like, all right, I'm going to finally get it. I have time, and I started this book on Monday, and I'm about halfway through. It's awesome. It's all about mindset and growth.
I think I have some old Zig Ziglar 8-tracks somewhere.
Yeah, he's old school.
Yeah, he's great though. He has a lot of great concepts, a lot of great ideas. Mm-hmm. Best restaurant in Chicago, Seth?
Best restaurant is Taco Max. So I'm from Tucson, so I'm a connoisseur of tacos and Mexican food, and I was pretty disappointed when I moved to Chicago, but I think I finally found the spot. And Taco Max, there's 2 locations. One's in Old Irving Park, and the other's in Albany Park, so on the far, northwest side, but best carne asada tacos in the city.
Oh, gonna have to check out Taco Max. I love tacos. Hey, thanks for being here this morning. I appreciate you. I appreciate your insights. Tell people one more time how to reach you.
You can reach me at seth@idhomestaging.com. So shoot me an email. I'd love to hear from you guys.
Perfect. All right, everybody. Hey, Thursday Morning Live. Was glad that I could spend this day with you just before the holiday. Seth, Merry Christmas to you and your family. Everybody who's listening in this morning or this afternoon, whenever you get a chance to review this, hey, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, enjoy the holiday season. We will be here next Thursday for New Year's. Saturday morning, Multifamily Unplugged will play. So if you are, I have a couple of great guests on Saturday morning this week, Tom Shellcross and Mark Ainsley. So if you are multifamily or in real estate and you want to, just disconnect on Saturday morning, Christmas Eve a little bit, feel free to. Look forward to talking to everybody. If I can help with anything with anybody, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And you know what? Please subscribe on YouTube. Smash that subscribe button. Like us, love us everywhere else. We will see you guys